And the world needs you now, in this state, ready to do anything. Earth Mother calls you. The Divine Mother calls you to just be the presence on earth that can raise the conversation around you, can raise the conditioning around you, can raise the vibration around you. Earth Mother doesn't respond to words. Earth Mother responds to the presence of you in your oneness, just as she is always in her oneness. Hello everyone, an especially warm welcome to you to this new message from White Bull. And I emphasize the special welcome because of where I'm talking to you from. When I explain the story, I hope you will forgive White Bull for testing your patience so much, because it is relevant to the message he's going to give. I'm talking to you from the Greek island of Patmos, one of my favorite places on the whole planet, if not the favorite place. And it was here that the Apostle John, the disciple, the apostle of love, was exiled, and in a cave, just a short distance from where I'm speaking to you, he received the message from God that was the book of Revelation, sometimes called the Apocalypse of John. Behind me, you will see a little chapel. And this is such an extraordinary place. It has a peace that, well, there are no words to describe it. And I'm sure the reason for that is because here it is said was where St. John used to baptize people. Imagine it. I'm now sitting on ground that St. John once walked on. And the peace here it's so beyond words to describe. Every time that I bring a group of people here for a retreat and I bring them here, of course, immediately afterwards they say, oh, can we go back? Can we go back? This is the place where they feel the connection to love more than anywhere else on the island. And there's a relevance also to the Apocalypse, the book of Revelations. It's a text that people are still trying to understand. And it is so full of symbolism that you could almost read anything into it. And theologians and prophets have done everything they can to give a clear interpretation of all that it means. In fact, since it was written, many, many people have thought it was written for us. Anybody involved in a battle would think this is for us, this is the sign that we are going to win. It has been a textbook for those who want to believe that the end of the world is coming. That, as you know, has happened many, many times. Even in our lifetime, I would say, the end has been predicted. Now, I would dare to say that with all that is happening in the world, perhaps we are the next generation to believe it was written just for us. If we look at the possibility of destruction, if we look at the fires, the volcanoes, the floods, well, we could say, yes, St. John is writing about this time. I'm more inclined to believe that all the symbolism refers more to our own personal journey, not to something that is only of a global nature. But one of the characters that John writes about, or receives the message about, is the one who is called the false prophet. And it seems to me that the time in which we are living, there are a lot of false prophets. Social media is full of them. And the false prophets are those whose task is seen to be to divide, to separate countries, families, to create tension, to create mistrust. And our challenge now must be to not be seduced by the message of these false prophets who want to draw us into one belief or another. I know too many stories, I'm sure you do too, of where divisions have happened even in families because different members of the families are believing different prophets. Now, I believe it's so important that we can see through this and we choose instead to follow the message of truth, which, as St. John states, will lead to a new heaven and a new earth. The retreats that I lead here are ones that, bring much food for the soul, as you can imagine in this place. If you have any feeling of affinity with the Apostle of John, this is a place to come to. What's new about Weipel's message is that it was given to a group of retreatants, and therefore he was speaking to them. But of course, as you know, his message is universal. It's not just for one person. When truth comes forward, it's for everyone. I hope you will find the truth in this, and that you will not feel that you're not being spoken to, because you are being spoken to. At the end of the message, there comes an energy which I hope you will feel even though you could not be physically present. An energy also of peace. And so I ask you to wait until those times come, the silences. I suggest you're not driving a car as you listen to the recording. It's not a time to be mesmerized by the peace that comes. And that as you go with that energy, I hope so much you will also enter into that state of peace. Greetings! I am White Bull. Hello, dear friends. A very warm welcome to you all. I'm delighted to join you in your gathering, and I hope that my presence amongst you will be able to make a small contribution to your greater inner freedom, to your deeper inner peace, to your better understanding, and to a little bit of greater joy. This is my desire. And as always in such a situation, I have to remind you that I do not come on my own. Sometimes you will hear me referring to myself as I, sometimes you will hear we, and that is because I come with a host of other dear ones, some personally connected to you, some who just are part of, shall we call it, my gang of helpers, and we unite in one spirit of love and service to be amongst you. Because the truth, of course, is that you are never alone. And even though I may sometimes address you rather irregularly, for all of you, the connection is always there. Since our first meeting, you've been stuck with me. I hope it has felt comfortable to you and that you don't feel an intrusion upon your space. Because, of course, we respect deeply the freedom that you must claim for yourself to let your own path unfold according to your understanding and your terms. So we are never going to grab you and push you in any different direction. You're always free to create your own reality because it's your life. But now, at this time in human history, in planetary history, you are facing a slightly different set of circumstances. I'm sure you will remember in your days of education at school when the most important exams approached, there was a little bit of stress, the tests seemed harder. And one could say that now, as you're all part of the school of love, therefore the tests become a little harder now too. Because the implications of succeeding in the school of love are so important not only for you personally, but for the world as a whole. So, dear friends, don't worry. Don't beat yourself up, one could say, if challenges come on your path where you are confronted by aspects of yourself that you may wish were not there. Don't let yourself be upset if you feel you're letting yourself down in your reactions, even in your negative thinking that you may sometimes have about yourself. This is all part of the process because you are awakening to the discomfort that there is in not having a perfect relationship with your true nature. Just be aware of it, that there will inevitably be something surfacing in you that will seek to sabotage you as you approach this very important time in your history. In your world now, there are some new expressions being used to define what occurs as a result of what you call your pandemic. One of them is lockdown. But it is common to everyone that from a very early time in your lives, you've had to lock down your true nature, your true power, your greatest gifts and talents. You've had to adapt yourselves to be able to be acceptable in the eyes of those upon whom you depend for care and love. But now is the time of waking up from that lockdown. And with that will come some sadness, some anger, a whole range of emotions. Allow it. Don't judge it. It's a part of your healing that you're waking up out of lockdown to stand in your authentic selves, answerable only to the highest within yourself. If we use another expression that you are very familiar with now, and you may have had some resistance to wearing your masks, well, for many of you, your authentic self has been concealed behind a layer of masks, which you've had to wear in order to gain acceptance and love and comfort and reassurance. It's also a time for dropping the masks, dear one. You are now in the country of Greece, and I'm sure you know that in the ancient Greek theater, the actors always wore masks, and those masks were called personas. And so your personas are your public image, which have succeeded in keeping you safe and accepted and received and loved. But you don't need anything extra, dear ones. You don't need to add anything to your basic essential self that makes you any more loved in the world of light. And isn't that the most important place to know where you are truly and unconditionally accepted and loved as you are? That is the only part to which you are answerable, not to anybody else. And so if this means in your claiming your true power to be your authentic self, you might find yourself feeling alienated or alienating others. That's also part of the deal. There's lots of changes where foundations, even in friendships that may not be built on a solid foundation, that may fall away too. Don't grieve about it. Give thanks only for what was and enjoy stepping into the freedom, into being answerable only to your true self. These are just some of the changes, dear ones, that you can expect on your path now as your deeper knowing, as your soul, which is now occupying the driving seat in a way it has never been allowed to before. It is now navigating its way through whatever has stood in the step of your freedom. And there will come some feelings of space, some feelings of relief. There will come some feelings of joy and some feelings of sadness, because there's always a grief to be experienced when you let go, when you move on. There's fear to be experienced when you find yourself stepping into a place without a map, a new consciousness. But it's not even about that you're letting go. Your soul is activating a process. Dear friends, don't ever ask yourself, what do I have to let go of now? If you do that, your ego is going to resist. There's nothing your ego hates more than thinking, oh, they want to let go, I'm going to cling on. So your ego clings to the old like a limpet clings to a rock at the seaside. The process is not about you thinking I have to let go of things to become better. The process is about going within, just as in nature, walking through a forest in the autumn, and the leaves are falling from the trees, not because the tree is letting go of the leaves, but because the tree is turning itself inwards. Therefore, there's nothing to hold the leaves in place. So, dear ones, the more that you are able to just turn yourself inwards to that place of peace and stillness, that which is no longer relevant to you, that which conceals your true nature, will by itself fall away. Very often my friends comment when I'm speaking to them, Bible, is it really so easy? And of course it is. But you are trained that life has to be a struggle. Life has to be an effort. Life has to be hard work to reach the place of consciousness that you want to come to. Let that idea go, dear one. Let it be ease and flow. Let it be that which only provides peace of mind. If you have peace of mind, then, dear friends, you're on your way. In peace of mind, there can be no resistance. In peace of mind, there is no blockage. There's only flow and ease. And this needs to mark the nature of your journey forward. So in the bigger picture, which of course is what you are here to really have an effect upon, you're not going to know it. We don't want you to feel that you must be visibly productive, because that is also putting a pressure upon yourself. It's a judgment. I'm not doing enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not clever enough. I'm not talented enough. But that is only judging the mask you are wearing. The journey forward is the stripping naked of all that is an illusion of who you truly are. It's not about adding to your sense of self. It's about arriving at a point where with complete celebration you will say to yourself, oh, thank God, how wonderful it is to be completely ordinary. Just an ordinary person. That's not false modesty. That is freedom. Even Jesus said, on my own, I'm nothing. And what he meant was that I, as a human being, what am I? I'm an empty shell, but it is God in me that does the work. The Father in me, the Mother in me does the work. Those who know me well have heard me often talk about the importance of presence. But the power of presence is amplified ever more so when you can arrive in that complete comfort and joy of thinking, oh, I'm so ordinary. Because then presence is what is left. Presence is in you, presence is you, but if you're trying to mask it, if you're thinking you have to do better, be better, presence cannot shine. And when you're able to connect to that presence, well, you're not even going to know about it, but others may remark upon it and say, oh, I love your presence, it feels so good to be with you. And he will say, well, nothing to do with me. Because in truth, it is nothing to do with you, the personality. It is God working through you. It is light and truth that is you, bringing your vibration, your essence, to heal the world. When you have peace of mind, dear ones, you will hear the inner voice. You will know what it is that you may be called to do. And it'll be called to do something that can only be successful, if I use that term, when there's no fear within you. So let there be no fear in becoming completely ordinary, and to live then an ordinary life in an extraordinary way. That's living as presence. That's not trying to achieve a goal. That's not trying to be anything different than just the essence, the purity that you are. I love to remind my friends of the story of when the Master Jesus was with some of his disciples pointing at children. And he said, unless you become as a child, you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. What he meant, of course, was unless you reclaim your innocence, you won't know what it's like to live on earth in a heavenly state of being. And your innocence is in your ordinariness, is in that purity of who you really are. This, dear friends, is the calling now. Simplification. Simplification of your life. Stripping away all that burdens you, all that defines you, all the identifications you may have. When somebody will ask you the question, what do you do? The best answer always to give is, with absolute sincerity, I don't know. I just am. Then you are fully empowered with the love of Christ. Then you are fully empowered in your connection to absolute truth. And then you find freedom. And the world needs you now, in this state, ready to do anything. Earth Mother calls you. The Divine Mother calls you to just be the presence on earth that can raise the conversation around you, can raise the conditioning around you, can raise the vibration around you. Earth Mother doesn't respond to words. Earth Mother responds to the presence of you in your oneness, just as she is always in her oneness. And although you may have your own complications in your life, actually, dear friends, Nothing is more important now than presence on earth of those who can align themselves with the energy of the Divine Mother in the earth to bring healing for all. This is the task, and it's not a heavy task if it is carried with that faith, which is your true power, and with that lightness of being where there is an absolutely pure flow of energy, which is presence, radiating from you. What will only get in the way of that, dear friends, is fear. Fear is your enemy. Not a virus. Fear is your enemy. If there's fear, there's contraction in the heart. My calling to you is to go forward with a fearless, radiant heart. Let your imagination reveal to you how different life would be with a fearless, radiant heart. What it might do to you personally in your own physical body, and what it might do to your environment, to the frequency of love that will touch everybody who comes into your life. This is the transformation we want you to focus upon, the fearless, radiant heart. Everything begins with that. That is peace. That is power. That is authenticity. That is oneness. That is vision. That is obedience to your inner voice, because then you will hear it. If there's fear in your system, you'll be deaf to the inner voice. You'll only hear the voice of fear. And when that time comes, you won't even need to be listening to me, because you'll be so wonderfully guided by that inner voice. It will lead you every step of the way on the perfect path for you. You will become yourself, your own guide, and the guide for those around you. And dear friends, it is simple. The truth is very simple. The Creator didn't create the human journey to be something that only a genius could understand. It's simple. It's simple in the absence of fear, in the absence of questioning, in the embracing of absolute faith and truth, in the quietness of the mind. And then you realize that everything is and always has been a grace in your life. Don't look back. Don't look back to your life so far unless you can understand and see that everything has been a grace. Everything has been perfect. Nothing has gone wrong. Even those things you regret, still it has been a grace, because everything has been an opportunity to deepen your self-awareness. This is also so important, dear friends, who are called, as you all are, to fulfill the highest mission possible. It is to be completely free of identification with the past. When anybody had the infinite privilege of being healed by the Master Jesus, what every one of them said was, I am forgiven. In other words, I'm released of my past, so I can be whole now. As long as you have unfinished business, you cannot be free. But that unfinished business, that old fear and wounds, they can be instantly healed by the light within you, in understanding that everything has been a grace to bring you to where you are now. Then everything of the past becomes irrelevant. It's all been a teaching. It's all guided you, maybe even a rather bumpy path that you think, well, that was a bit much. But it has brought you to where you are now. And here you are now, dear ones, at the perfect place, at the perfect time, with the perfect people, doing the perfect thing. Even sometimes in the most painful situations, it can be good to reflect upon and say to yourself, there's nowhere I would rather be. There's no one I would rather be with. There's nothing I would rather be doing than where I am right now. Why resist what is? It has to be perfect. Even if it's on a rocking boat, even if it's in the dentist chair, even if it's in your pain and grief, it's still the perfect place to be. Because something is always happening. Try it, dear ones. See how you can transform any situation by saying to yourself, there's nowhere I would rather be than where I am now. That is the way to living in the present moment. That is the way to the deepest acceptance of what is. The way to non-resistance. And the way to continual movement upward. I remind you that life on earth is not a horizontal journey. The horizontal part is dependent upon the vertical part. So if you find yourself in a chaotic situation, it's like being in the ground floor of a very tall building, and you think, where do we go from here? There's noise here, there's chaos here. Well, then I suggest you go into the elevator and press the button for the penthouse. Take yourself up. Give yourself that higher view, that distant view where you're not affected by the chaos, where you have a much bigger picture, a panorama of the bigger picture of life. Don't be enslaved by the chaos at the ground level and what I call life with a small l. That's not where you belong. You belong at a higher level, and when you come together with friends just as you are together now, you're in your upper room. You're together like the disciples of old, coming together to break the bread and drink the wine in the upper room, to share their experience of knowledge of the Christ who was no longer with them. Not going into idle talk and gossip, not being negative or judgmental of anybody around you, but just holding that vibration, which you all have in common, of that higher view. I ask you in this time that you are together now, where you've all been called to come. It's not a random experience that you are here in answer to a call. Let be this first commitment to that call. As much as you're able, be together in the upper room, the higher mind, not the surface mind. You're not going to gain anything from being here if you live in the surface mind. But stay together in the higher mind, and honor and respect and love. In joy, of course, there must be celebration. As you all know, celebration is my favorite word. Find something to celebrate every day. If it's in your togetherness, if it's something you see, if it's a sensation that you experience in one of the beautiful places upon this island, celebrate it. Celebrate each other. Celebrate what you see as the beauty in each other, the God in each other. Maybe at one point during the day, when nobody else is aware, you can look around and all of you who are gathered together, and that all you will see in each other is God. Because you're all manifestations of that same God. And keep looking until you really, really see God in each other. Let that be the foundation. That's the foundation of rock. If you're not united by being able to acknowledge the presence of God in each other, that's the foundation built upon sand. And the mind and the ego can very quickly come in and wash the sand away. When the foundation of togetherness, not only in your group now, but amongst all whom you love, all who you wish to serve, it is that you see God in everyone. That not only is good for you, but it heals the one who you are seeing. You often hear me talking about the presence of the inner judge. And the inner judge is only there because somebody is not being truly seen by another in their divinity, in their perfection. Be healers for each other now. Healers by whoever you are with, whoever you are talking to. Be reminded, I'm talking to a manifestation of God. I'm talking to the essence of perfection and the depth of this person's being. I'm talking to love. And the one who sees that is seeing it because they find a mirror for themselves in that other person's divinity. It's good, dear friends, to practice. You're in a safe, wonderful place with wonderful souls around you. What better place can there be to practice this and find out how wonderful it is to live with that connection, to provide that degree of healing for another by giving them perhaps for the first time in their lives an experience of feeling truly seen, truly loved, truly accepted, just as they are. If you can't do it with the dear friends who surround you now, where can you do it? If you can't do it amongst a group of friends drawn together to celebrate the presence of the disciple of love, the apostle of love, John himself, let him be the example for your time together now. Because he is in all of you. That love of John is in all of you. Live it, dear ones. Live it now. Live it when you go out into the world. Be a disciple yourself of the beloved disciple of love. And there will come changes, you know that. I'm not going to specify what it is, because then the mind will grab hold of it and play games with it and distort it and make it maybe bigger than it really is. But the preparation for this time is for you to be in all the things I have mentioned. Because for many people around you, their foundations will be shaken. I'm not talking just about physical foundations of an earthquake, but the foundations of their belief systems. The foundations of what they have held dear to, what they have been attached to, their identifications. The freedom is in the dissolving of identifications. And your task is to be an example of that people will say, well, okay, it's all right then to say I'm ordinary and I just am. I see the joy in this person's eyes as they stand there in their freedom. There'll be many people rocked in their foundations. There'll be many people finding themselves in a place without a map. But you will be their compass. You'll be the one who shows the way. You'll be the star in the heavens that points them in the right direction. You'll be the comforters. You'll be the reassurers. You'll be the ones who will bring peace to the troubled hearts and minds. Because you will know through your faith that all is well. That everything is happening for a glorious purpose. To create the heaven on earth. This is not just a dream or a fantasy, dear one. It needs to be something that is real to you. A real possibility. As you graduate from God's school of love, that there can be the consummation of all things, the realization of heaven on earth, alive in you, and you can infect and contaminate all who contact you with that same vibration. You may think, well, this sounds a bit of a tall order, White Bull. Am I really capable of achieving that? But dear friends, it's already achieved within you. You are already there, only your conditioning and your identifications and your mind prevents you from allowing that to happen. And yes, there's a fear, well, if I allow it to happen, who am I then? What do I become? Won't I miss the things I now enjoy? No, you won't. Because you'll find something even greater that'll even deepen the pleasure of what you're frightened of letting go of. If you were finding yourself at the edge of a deep swimming pool, and you were frightened of jumping in, you think, I'm going to drown if I jump in. But if you jump in and relax, you will float. You'll be carried. The water will carry you. It's the same with life and divine love. If you surrender to it, you're instantly carried by that love. You just have to relax and float. Be carried, be supported. The arms are out there ready to catch you. You will not fall, you will not be hurt. The arms of divine love are forever outstretched towards you. They walk beside you. There's nothing to fear. And what a relief. Imagine this, dear ones. Imagine the relief that will come where there you are, carried in the arms of divine love. Everything is going smoothly. All fear has disappeared. What a relief. Oh, thank God. Why did I wait so long? This is wonderful. This is life. Life with a large L. This is heaven on earth. This is truth. This is what we pray deeply, sincerely, continually for you to experience. And as you are here on this island of the beloved disciple, call upon his Spirit to help you. He's here. He's amongst you. He's in you. He doesn't have to be some great figure outside of you. If ever there was a disciple of greater humility and honesty and authenticity and love, it was John. Make the most of him. Pray to him. Pray to that part of you, in you, that is him. To reveal the love of John in the world through humble service, through freedom, through innocence, through the radiance of your divine presence. So perhaps in the stillness now, dear one, I want to be a little quiet now. I've done enough talking for the moment. But there is that presence that comes amongst you. I hope you will feel it. It's just presence. Don't try to analyze it. Don't ask, is it this, is it that? The mind will never give you a good answer to that. But it is presence. It's not a personal presence. It's not your presence. It is the presence which is divine love. Breathe it in. Breathe in the breath of God. It not only touches those who are physically present with me now, but anyone who listens to it. Allow it to come into your physical experience. Love has no boundaries. Love has no location. There's no place where there's more love than another, because all there is love. The physical distance between where I address you through my instrument and where you are, what is in that space? It's love. It's divine energy. If you think of a rocket flying through space, unaffected by any gravitational pull, what is in that space? Is it worthless because there's nothing there? No. It is also part of divine creation. Peace, dear friends. The peace that you feel, the love that you feel is the peace and love that you are. peace. 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 So, dear friends, as the Master Jesus said to his loved ones when he said goodbye to them for the last time, his beloved disciples, he didn't say, my love I leave with you, or my joy I leave with you. He said, my peace I leave with you. And now, I say to you, my peace I leave with you for this moment. And I leave you with all love and blessing and the promise of my prayers for you for the healing of everything that may stand between you and that state of everlasting peace. That you may go forth into the world shining with the light of divine love. And with all love to you, I say, God is you.